Shalom, and welcome back to me reading the Parasha Canaan, which I will now begin again. This is part 2. This will be Devarim, chapter 5, or Deuteronomy chapter 5. Moshe summoned all the Israelites and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, the laws and rules that I proclaim to you this day. Study them and observe them faithfully. The Lord your God made a covenant with us at Horeb. It was not with our fathers that the Lord made this covenant, but with us, the living, every one of us who is here today. Face to face, the Lord spoke to you on the mountain out of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you at that time to convey the Lord's words to you, for you were afraid of the fire and did not go up the mountain, saying, I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods beside me. You shall not make for yourself a sculptured image, any likeness of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters below the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am an impassioned God, visiting the guilt of the parents upon the children, upon the third and upon the fourth generations of those who reject me, but showing kindness to the thousandth generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not swear falsely by the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not clear one who swears falsely by his name. Observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your ox or your ass, or any of your cattle, or the stranger in your settlements, so that your male and female slave may rest as you do. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God freed you from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may long endure, and that you may fare well in the land that the Lord your God is assigning to you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not crave your neighbor's house or his field, or his male or female slave, or his ox or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. The Lord spoke those words, those and no more, to your whole congregation at the mountain, with a mighty voice out of the fire and the dense clouds. He inscribed them on 2 tablets of stone, which he gave to me. When you heard the voice out of the darkness, while the mountain was ablaze with fire, you came up to me, all your tribal heads and elders, and said, The Lord our God has just shown us his majestic presence, and we have heard his voice out of the fire. We have seen this day that man may live, though God has spoken to him. Let us not die. Then, for this fearsome fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer, we shall die. For what mortal ever heard the voice of the living God speak out of the fire as we did, and lived? You go closer and hear all the Lord our God says, and then you tell us everything that the Lord our God tells you, and we will willingly do it. The Lord heard the plea that you made to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard the plea that this people made to you. They did well to speak thus. May they always be of such mind, to revere me and follow all my commandments, that it may go well with them and with their children forever. Go, say to them, return to your tents. But you remain here with me, and I will give you the whole instruction, the laws and the rules, that you shall impart to them, for them to observe in the land that I am giving them to possess. Be careful, then, to do as the Lord your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside to the right or to the left. Follow only the path that the Lord your God has enjoined upon you, so that you may thrive, and that it may go well with you, and that you may long endure in the land you are to possess. And this is the instruction, the laws and the rules, that the Lord your God has commanded me to impart to you, to be observed in the land that you are about to cross into and occupy, so that you, your children, and your children's children may revere the Lord your God and follow, as long as you live, all his laws and commandments that I enjoin upon you, to the end that you may long endure. Obey, O Israel, willingly and faithfully, that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, spoke to you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions, with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that he swore to your fathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Jaacov, to assign to you, great and flourishing cities that you did not build, houses full of all good things that you did not fill, hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant, and you eat your fill. Take heed that you do not forget the Lord, who freed you from the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. Revere only the Lord your God, and worship him alone, and swear only by his name. Do not follow other gods, any gods of the peoples about you, for the Lord your God in your midst is an impassioned God, lest the anger of the Lord your God blaze forth against you, and he wipe you off the face of the earth. Do not try the Lord your God, as you did at Massah. Be sure to keep the commandments, decrees, and laws that the Lord your God has enjoined upon you. Do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may go well with you, and that you may be able to possess the good land that the Lord your God promised an oath to your fathers, and all that your enemies may be driven out before you, as the Lord has spoken. When, in time to come, your children ask you, "What mean the decrees, laws, and rules that the Lord our God has enjoined upon you?" you shall say to your children, "We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand. The Lord wrought before our eyes marvelous and destructive signs and portents in Egypt against Pharaoh and all his household, and he freed us from there, that he might take us and give us the land that he had promised on oath to our fathers. Then the Lord commanded us to observe all these laws, to revere the Lord our God for our lasting good and for our survival, as is now the case. It will be therefore to our merit before the Lord our God to observe faithfully this whole instruction as he has commanded us. When the Lord your God brings you to the land that you are about to enter and possess, and he dislodges many nations before you, the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations much larger than you, and the Lord your God delivers them to you, and you defeat them, you must doom them to destruction, grant them no terms, and give them no quarter. You shall not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons, for they will turn your children away from me to worship other gods, and the Lord's anger will blaze forth against you, and he will promptly wipe you out. Instead, this is what you shall do to them. You shall tear down their altars, smash their pillars, cut down their sacred posts, and consign their images to the fire. For you are a people consecrated to the Lord your God. Of all the peoples on earth, the Lord your God chose you to be his treasured people. It is not because you are the most numerous of peoples that the Lord set his heart on you and chose you. Indeed, you are the smallest of peoples, but it was because the Lord favored you and kept the oath he made to your fathers, that the Lord freed you with a mighty hand and rescued you from the house of bondage, from the power of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know, therefore, that only the Lord your God is God, and steadfast God, who keeps his covenant faithfully to the thousandth generation of those who love him and keep his commandments, but who instantly requites with destruction those who reject him. Never slow with those who reject him, but requiting them instantly. Therefore, observe faithfully the instruction, the laws, and the rules with which I charge you today. And that is the end of Parasha Vayechanan, which is Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 23, beginning there. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you are new to Judaism, I recommend that you read that Parsha. That Parsha is spoken by Moses or Moshe, and Moshe is recapping all the things that have happened in the earlier parts of the Torah, and it is a very good summary, and it really shows people exactly what the Torah is mostly about not making false idols, about keeping to God's commandments. This is really central to the Torah, and the main ideas of the Torah are contained in that Parsha. So if you are new to Judaism, please read that. And of course, if you're always looking for more knowledge into the Torah, it's a very beautiful Parsha to read. Thank you so much. Shalom.